Hey guys, this is Mark Goldberg from Mark Vlogs Watches with another exciting episode for you today. And before we jump right into the review of this watch, I'm wearing it right now. Let's go ahead and get the quick fist watch check out of the way. I'll talk to you a little bit about the watch. Then we're going to go over its features and details. And then, of course, I promise, we're going to do the Lume because that's what you're tuning in to see. Right now, the fist watch check. And today, yes indeedy, I am wearing the 350M-2 from Lum-Tec. Look, a couple of things that I didn't mention in the review that I want to talk to you about right now, quick, before we jump into this thing, is that first of all, we've got a Sellita SW200 movement in here, but it is fine-tuned by the manufacturer, which is in Ohio. So, of course, this is a Swiss movement, but the watch is assembled in Ohio. So you got some American ingenuity going on right inside here. And Lum-Tec have not only gone ahead and used a Swiss movement, but they have super fine-tuned it. And their spec on this watch is -0 to +3 per day. So it is not supposed to run slow at all, and it might run as fast as 3 seconds per day. That is spectacular. That's actually nominally better than Rolex specs, for example. The other thing that I want to make mention here is the bezel is fantastic, and it's got some really interesting cuts. The way the gear cut is done right there on the bezel. Okay, enough. Let's jump into the watch. And make sure you stay tuned to the end because you're going to want to see the Lume. It's crazy. Well, guys, here you are looking at the Lum-Tec 350M-2 in all its glory. There's a lot to discuss on this watch, but I think we should really just get the obvious thing out of the way and start with the dimensions. Pulling out the handy plastic calipers, I can tell you that this is a 43 millimeter in diameter. It's a chunky monkey. The thickness is not out of hand though. It is 13. There's a 13 millimeter thick case, which is not overdone. Now, the straight up, strict lug-to-lug dimension is right at around 51. Hang on, I'll get it, I promise. Yeah, let's call that 51, but it's actually a little bit, it's gonna have bigger presence on the wrist because the bracelet flares out a little bit here on the end link. So if I were to measure that, it's gonna be a big measurement, guys. It's gonna be more almost 60. But because the lugs turn down sharply there, don't worry about it. It's gonna sit nicely on the wrists, and I'll show you that more, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, the other things that I find notable, besides the presence of this thing, which is a very notable watch due to its color, its configuration, and its size, but I'll tell you this, with my 7¼ inch wrist, I find it eminently wearable. So it's very well balanced on the wrist. Now, here are some features about the rest of the watch that I like, because we're going to come back and pick this dial and the Lume apart. We're going to talk about it a lot more. But first, let's talk about this bracelet. Now, the bracelet, I believe, is 20 millimeters. Let's have a quick peek. Nope, it's 22 millimeters, and it does not taper. Okay. Actually, I think that's the only criticism I could give you right now of this bracelet is I wish it would taper maybe from 22 down to 20. However, no big thing. It is gorgeous. Now, you'll notice these little triangular cutouts in the bracelet, and they tend to catch the light. This is all brushed polish, but you know, when the light hits it right, you get the little sparklies, you know, right off of these cutouts here. What a cool idea for a bracelet design. I mean, it's just a little bit of extra machining is really all it is. So now you're seeing a bit of shine because we are in very bright direct sunlight here, but all of the finishing on the case and on the bracelet is brushed, except for it's high polished in those little triangular center link cutouts. So just gives the tiniest little bit of sparkle to this, which I think goes along nicely with the whimsical and in-your-face nature of that dial. But I digress, because I want to show you this clasp. I am very fond of this type of clasp, and it is quickly becoming more typical on watches in a variety of price ranges. This is a ratcheting micro adjustment clasp, in theory so you can get it over a wetsuit, but as a practical matter so you can deal with heat swell on your wrist. Double deployant to open. Oops, double deployant to open the ratchets. So let me close that up and I'll show you the deployant to open the clasp itself is right here. Nicely milled out. They could have done a little pearlage. Some of my watches have pearlage on this, and that's a nice little hidden touch, but not necessary. Under here, you can see the little ratchets. So when I open this guy here, you can see the little ratcheting edges there, and this is what allows you to open the watch quite a bit more. In fact, let's take a measurement and see what do we get here. Oh, you're getting a good 14 millimeters of additional size. So that's terrific. I use it all the time. If the heat swells up my wrist, I'll open it 1 and possibly 2. I usually don't have to go beyond that. But it is nice, and it is nicely incised or laser etched with LT for Lum-Tec right there and here. So yes, I vote a strong yes for this type of clasp. Now the case back is nice in the sense that it is artistically engraved. The LT for Lum-Tec is attractive, but what I especially like are these structures here that it sort of looks like, you know, the mothership. And I really like that modern flair to the old-fashioned screw-down case back. Now, this is, as you can see on the dial, this watch is good to quite a bit of depth. It's good down to 350 meters, thus the name 350M. Screw-down case, screw-down crown, rather. Nicely knurled. If I have one complaint about this watch whatsoever is the crown guards here snugly protect that crown. You're going to have to make an extra effort if you want to bash that crown into something. It is well protected, but the crown itself is a little small. So what that means is you're going to fumble a little bit in adjusting the watch. That's really my only complaint there. Now the blue of the dial is alternating lighter and darker blue in concentric dials, and you can see it really gives you a lot of dynamic play with the light. And there is a date right there, right between the 4 and the 5. So I love the whimsical nature of the dial. It doesn't take itself too seriously, this watch, because those concentric circles make it playful, and I really like that. The bezel action is stiff, but I notice the more I use it, the more it seems to be loosening up. Let me bring this right up to the mic so you can hear it better. There is zero play. Rifle shot precision. It's absolutely an excellent. This is one of the better bezels that I have ever encountered on a watch in this price point. And I'm going to go out on a limb, and I believe that this watch, its retail is $795. If I'm wrong, I will drop that in here. But I actually paid substantially less than that for it on eBay. I think I paid around $500. No, $450. I paid $450 for this on eBay, and I am absolutely thrilled. So the next thing actually that we should take a look at is what is the weight on this guy here. So I've brought out the trusty scale, and I could tell you it is heavy. But that being said, although it's heavy, it's well balanced. So that is 7.1 ounces, and let's take a look at that in grams, 202 grams. So we have a 200 plus gram watch here, but because it balances so well on the wrist, it does not present me with any problems. The Lume is utterly amazing. It is better than on almost any watch that you are ever going to encounter. The bezel is lumed, all the Arabics are lumed, all the hour markers are lumed. It's amazing, and it is the whole point of this watch. So let's go somewhere dark, and let's take a look at that Lume now. Well guys, here we have the pièce de résistance. Look at that seconds hand. It even glows over the minute hand. The Lume is just really remarkable. Mind you, the brand is Lum-Tec, so you're going to have the expectation, of course, that it has great lume. But I would say this exceeds all expectations because it's not just lume. I mean, there is a cool, unique, original design to this watch. It certainly fits well within the dive watch family. But its super built for purpose yet whimsical nature suggests that this is a watch that should cost far more than its price point actually does. Now, I can tell you from personal experience that if you charge this up before you go to the movie, you're going to annoy your neighbors. If you charge this up like with a UV flashlight real quick, give it a blast right before you turn out the lights and go to bed, you're going to annoy your partner. They're going to want you to put your wrist under a pillow because you could literally put on a puppet show by the light of this. And it is going to absolutely last all night. If you've got good eyes, which I myself do not, but if you have good eyes, charge it before you go to bed, and 8 hours later you will be reading this. On the other hand, if you're like me and you're up once or twice a night to perform your ablutions, you know, just give it another quick shot, and you'll literally have no problem reading this. In fact, your problem's kind of going to be the opposite, which is avoiding annoying other people in the room. So the Lume, fantastic. You can compare it to, let's say, Rolex and their Chromolite. That's a very long-lasting Lume, that blue Chromolite. This is much more green. With I would say aquamarine. It's not, I know camera, it's rendering very green, but to the naked eye, it definitely has a bluish tint. And the Rolex, you can read it all night, so it's very, very good. For example, the Submariner, its Chromolite is terrific. But look at these Arabics. This is another step. Yes, I think you could compare it to the Lumibrite on a Seiko, but really, this knocks Seiko out of the water in terms of design, and I'm going to say it right now, quality. This is built so much better than a Seiko Turtle, for example. So much better. Holy cow. The bezel alone, the alignment, everything's perfect. Okay, guys. Hope you enjoy the Lume on Lum-Tec 350M-2. Let's have a quick wrist roll so you can see this on the wrist. You get a better shot of this. My wrist is 7¼ inches. And you can see that it's easily able to support this, even though we've got a 43mm watch that weighs 202 grams. But the lugs turn down, it's very balanced, and it's really beautiful. Whimsical, playful, fun, purpose-built.
Paint the sky.